Time now for Sid 6-0. This is where I get 60 seconds to talk about anything. Start the clock, please. Here's what's on my mind this morning. A year ago at this time, I wasn't co-hosting breakfast television, breaking news. I was doing a sports show with Tim McAuliffe. We weren't news people, but when the George Floyd video went public, we became a news show. We didn't run from it. We had to talk about it, like the rest of the sports world. All those athletes that were getting ready for the NBA and NFL seasons, they didn't run from it. They protested. When Jacob Blake was shot 7 times in Wisconsin, NBA players didn't run from it. They protested, sat out games. MLB players didn't run from it. Some protested. NHL got there, eventually. Soccer players in England didn't run from it either, taking a knee before games, something they still do, by the way. I heard the line, stick to sports, a lot when I was exclusively living in that world. Last year at this time, I'm glad to say we didn't, because it was the conversation that needed to be had and needs to continue. Not many in the sports world did stick to sports about a year ago, and that's a good thing. Donnovan Bennett of Sportsnet joins me now, a dear friend. DJ, can you believe it's been a year?
I really can't, to be honest, because I feel like some of the conversations haven't stopped. And when it happened originally, and we talked about this on your show, I thought it was going to be a couple weeks, right? We do this thing where we talk about Trayvon or Eric Garner or Tamir Rice for a couple weeks, and then we move on to something else until it happens again and again and again. And the moment continued and continued and continued and became a movement. So I am surprised that this conversation has been sustained this long. Hopefully, we get some tangible actions from leadership in sports and elsewhere so that we have some resolutions, so that we're not continuing to say new names, both in the United States and in Canada.
Honestly, Donnovan, I did in the moment, and I'll truthfully say this now, after the fact. I underestimated the power that sports still had in this way. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of Instagram generation and this and that, just getting the clicks, so he's demanding a trade. Where's LeBron going? Like, I didn't think sports still had this impact. Did it surprise you?
It surprised me that sports utilized that power. I knew it was there. It could be harnessed. It just never really was front of mind. Nelson Mandela, a while ago, said sports has the power to change the world. And I think what we saw was not necessarily sports leagues. I don't want to give them too much credit for becoming woke overnight. They followed their profit margin. And really who put the pressure on sports was individual athletes saying, no, you're not having our services until we have some peace, and corporations who said, well, we are not going to sponsor league events and teams and be aligned with you if you are not on the right side of this conversation. And a lot of the kudos goes to everyday people like you and me who said, listen, we're not just going to protest. We're not just going to throw a black square on Instagram. We really want to have accountability and have a conversation for the first time in a long time, since probably the beginning of the civil rights movement after World War II, about what anti-black racism really looks like and how we're going to solve it. So I am thankful that the sports leagues figured out that inclusion and diversity and having broad conversations isn't something that's going to impact them negatively, but actually is positive. And I'm hoping more leagues do even more to be a part of that conversation.
Donnovan, I was blessed to talk to you regularly about a year ago. We're blessed to talk to you every week here on BT. Have a great day. Appreciate you.
You too.
And we'll have a lot more on the exact one-year anniversary of the murder of George Floyd coming up here on Breakfast Television. All right, let's take a turn here. Coming up after the break, Melanie Ng and myself will take your calls and your emails and your tweets on You Sound Off. Last week, we got a lot of info from the province of Ontario about reopening. Education was oddly missing from that. Are you frustrated at a lack of a plan right now in Ontario? Parents, I know you're out there. 1-866-267-3797. Feedback at breakfasttelevision.ca, at Breakfast TV on Twitter. It's 6:45, Toronto. You're watching BT.